Truths by Jay the Brony. Chapter 3. Just to Talk. For the longest time, all Rainbow could do was stare at the plain-looking door before her. She had come all this way upstairs, and now she found herself incapable of going any further. It was a frustrating situation, as she seemed both eager and terrified to take the next step. Her mind was awash with all the things she'd learned, and all these new truths ate at her, giving her conflicting feelings with every passing moment. But after that long, deathly silence had run its course, she sighed, looking up to the door with a determined expression upon her face. "Flash, it's me." There was no answer, and after Rainbow waited even further, she took in a deep breath. "I'm coming in." Reaching for the knob, she turned it, and before long, she was within the room. Flash's bedroom was, in all honesty, about what she'd expect for him. A few posters of his favorite musicians, a desk for him to do his homework, a shelf on one wall covered in old family photos. And, at the center of it all was his bed, where the boy himself now sat, right at the end. His back was to her, and he did not turn as she entered, softening her expression considerably. Closing the door behind her, the rainbow-haired girl took a step closer, speaking in a tone that most would have expected more of Fluttershy than of her. Is it okay if I sit here?" Flash did not reply, but he did move to one side, creating space for her. Nodding to this silent invitation, Rainbow moved closer, placing herself at the foot of the bed, just as he had done. With her hands resting upon her knees, she looked over to her unexpected half-sibling, who was now staring at the ground, his expression hard to read. Rainbow seemed just as unable to figure out what to say as anybody else would under the circumstances. So, after scratching at the back of her head, she tried to at least break the ice. "So, quite a day, huh?" Again, Flash said nothing, prompting her to carry on. "I mean, this is some pretty heavy stuff, right?" Further silence. "You know, we've been through some pretty strange stuff lately, but this is probably in the top 10, easily." Her desire to move on from this awkward place the two of them had found themselves in was obvious. And, just maybe, it was that knowledge that led to Flash, at long last, letting out a deep sigh. But while he did speak, albeit in a hushed manner, his eyes remained firmly on the ground. "All my life." Rainbow looked to him with concern as he continued. "All my life, I looked up to him. I always thought he was something I should be, somebody I could live up to." He frowned. "But now, I don't know what to think about him." Rainbow's face softened again. "Hey, come on. I'm sure our dad was still a pretty good guy. I mean..." She considered her words before carrying on. "Think about it. Your mom obviously stayed with him after this, so that must mean he was worth staying for. I mean, given what we've heard, I don't think anyone can really be blamed for this." But Flash shook his head. "That's not the problem. If it was just a case of him having a kid by another woman, I'd forgive him, if only because Mom did. But..." Slowly, he looked to her, clear hurt in his eyes. "But he never came to you. You grew up never even knowing his name. He left you." Rainbow was taken aback by this, and so took a moment to compose herself. "Well, you heard your mom. They would have told us everything eventually, right?" Flash looked away. "He should have been part of your life sooner. Now that chance is lost." It was clear that the boy was angry right now, even hurt, and so, for quite a while, Rainbow just settled into staring at him. She looked very much like she wanted to say something nice, something encouraging, but every time she thought of a good thing to say, her nerves got the better of her. But after a good deal of time had progressed, she simply spoke her mind. Look, Flash, I know you're probably ticked off at being kept in the dark, and so am I. But the truth is, things turned out okay. Flash looked at her, promoting her to continue. I mean it. I totally had an okay life without him. And sure, I would have liked to at least meet him. But I can't really bring myself to hate him. Here, Flash seemed taken aback. I don't hate him, Rainbow. It's just... Ugh. He buried his face in his hands. I just don't know what to do with any of this. Chuckling, Rainbow gave him a quick pat on the back. Tell me about it. Still, at least you get to say you have two sisters now, right? Hearing that, Flash looked up again, his face aghast. Shoot, Scootaloo, how am I going to explain this to her? As before, Rainbow shrugged her shoulders. Yeah, it ain't gonna be easy. But if we do it together... Flash turned to her, raising an eyebrow. You'd want to be there? Folding her arms, Rainbow smiled and nodded. Sure. She is my sister, right? And you? Here, she seemed to struggle, but eventually she got her words out. You're my brother. A half-brother, sure, but a brother all the same. After saying that, her expression began to soften. And, I've spent so long thinking of myself as an only child. Just me and nobody else. Now it turns out, I've got this whole family I never even knew about. And, well... Slowly, she looked at him right in the eye. That's kind of awesome to me, Flash. Hearing that, and seeing the completely honest look she bore as she said it, Flash sighed, appearing to relax a great deal in his body language. After looking away from her for a time, he started to smile right back to her. Yeah, I guess you can see it like that. He was then caught off guard by the sound of her laughing, prompting him to look over to her as she started speaking again. Although, it is kind of weird when you think that the guy I've had a kind of crush on for so many months turns out to be my own brother. Folding his arms, Flash raised an eyebrow. I think lusted after was the phrase you were looking for, Rainbow. The girl laughed again to this, nodding in resigned agreement. But then, just as quickly as the smile had come, it vanished, replaced instead by a look of horror as Rainbow clasped her hands onto her cheeks. Oh, jeez. Flash looked to her with worry. What is it? Mortification crossed Rainbow's face as she answered. This means that I've seen my own brother's junk. Flash's eyes snapped open wide. What? When did that happen? Rainbow looked at him, still unnerved. Back during the spa massage a month or two ago, when our towels fell off? Flash now shared in her mortification. You said you hadn't peeked. Rainbow raised her hands in a defensive posture. I couldn't help it. It happened. Neither of them said a word to each other after that, and only stared at one another in the awkward and uncomfortable silence that fell upon them. Then, after doing absolutely nothing this whole time, both of them, at the exact same moment, began to crack. They could not hold in their smiles and laughs any longer, and together they burst out into simultaneous chuckles and guffaws. Staying in that same spot they'd been sitting in that whole time, they laughed together at pretty much everything they'd said and learned. In the midst of it, and their laughter had died down considerably, Flash wiped a laugh-induced tear from his eye. This whole thing is ridiculous, isn't it? In a similar mood, Rainbow nodded, looking to her brother as she did so. Yeah, it's nuts. The two sighed deeply at one another, looking to each other with at least a degree of affection. The kind of smile one only reserved for family. Then, when the moment had passed, Flash raised a hand and placed it upon her shoulder. You know, it's getting pretty close to the anniversary of Dad's passing. Me, Mom, and Scoots usually go and visit his grave, so... Rainbow's smile faded a little, replaced by genuine surprise at the offer now given to her by her newly discovered sibling. At first, she seemed hesitant, but after mulling the matter over, she started to perk up again, returning to her soft smile and giving a nod. Yeah, I'd like that. Flash's smile widened, but he was unable to say anything further, as just then he was distracted by the sound of somebody clearing their throat. Turning, both he and Rainbow saw that it was Mrs. Sentry. With everything that had happened, neither youth had noticed that she'd entered the room, and was now looking to her son with uncertainty. I hope you don't mind if I come in, son. Slowly, Flash's expression became blank, hard to read. He got himself up from his sitting position, walking around the bed, and headed straight to his mother. The older woman saw him coming and did nothing, simply looking to him as he stopped and stared at her. Then, to her surprise, he stepped forward, embracing her tenderly. Though surprised and taken aback by this, Mrs. Sentry soon broke out into a massive smile, complete with happy tears in her eyes. She returned the hug, a sight which brought a smile to Rainbow's face also. Whatever bad feeling or sense of discomfort there might have been in this room now vanished in this one moment, replaced instead by an experience of calm and contentment. Such a thing would surely have been a heartwarming moment worthy of preservation. Sadly, it was a moment somewhat spoiled when Rainbow stood up and spoke. So, Flash, are we going to gloss over the fact our moms totally did it that night? Remaining where he was, Flash continued to hold his mother, and she him, and when he spoke, it was with a tone that, understandably, bore a slight sense of annoyance to it. Well, I was. Taking on a nervous look, Rainbow let out an uneasy laugh, slowly moving to head on outside past the still embracing pair. Right, so, see you at the cemetery? Again, Flash remained still as he held his mother. Yes, that would be nice. Nodding, Rainbow did her best to remove herself from this place, and as mother and son continued to embrace, it was now Mrs. Sentry's turn to speak. Well, I'm sure she'll be a wonderful sister, sweetie. To that, Flash sighed, chuckling a little. Yeah, we can only hope. The end. Hey guys, it's Nicky D here. I just want to say thank you so much for following along through these fanfiction readings. I gotta say, this was probably one of the most interesting stories I've ever read by Jay the Brony. If you have not already, make sure you give him a follow on fanfiction.net. I'll leave a link to his profile in the description below. And I'll also leave a link to the story in the description below like I've done in the other two videos. Make sure you give this story a favorite, thumbs up, and a comment. Come on guys, support the original creator. I gotta say, it was fun doing this, and Jay, if you're listening, thank you so much for letting me do this. It's been awesome. Hopefully I can read some more of your stories in the future, because you got some of the most insane stuff, Jay. You are like insane awesome. I'm not sure if I'm going to do more fanfiction stories, well, fanfiction readings rather. But who knows? Maybe I might do more, because I did have a lot of fun with this. I'm not gonna lie. Though there are times it was tedious because I kept screwing up some lines, so I had to redo it, and it was just so tedious. But I had fun with it. I really did. That's pretty much it, guys. If you like this video, give it a like, comment, and that little red box at the lower left-hand corner of this video, make sure you give that a press to subscribe to my channel, because I got some awesome content. I got music covers, art, just random stuff. Yeah, so support Jay the Brony, support me, and that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of each other, love each other. I'll see you in the next video.